One summer, I went for a bike ride around the neighborhood on my little chrome Huffy BMX. I couldn't have been more than 10 years old. I was so psyched to be out of school and have absolutely nothing to do but sit at home and watch soap operas with Sarah, my older sister. We sat on the floor eating plastic-wrapped individual slices of cheese that we bought with our own money from the Walgreens. I would fold mine in half over and over until it was like 4 or 5 times taller than it was wide. Then I would squish all the tiny stacked squares together until they rejoined each other and became one glob of what the commercials I loved so much led me to believe was cheese. It had a perfect imprint of my thumb in the center. I would put the whole thing in my mouth and enjoy the flavorless plasticity of it all, and then, as soon as my thumb finished its very important smashing, I'd start to release the next one from its tiny cellophane home. There it is. Holy shit. I don't think that's how that's supposed to go. But there was also bike riding. I would push my little cranks as hard as I could, then roll up the driveway onto the sidewalk and jump back into the street from the tiny ramp the next driveway made as it transitioned back up into the sidewalk. The newer driveways were the best. They had a much gentler slope. You could really get some air off those guys. But that day I was just bombing down the hill alone. The one a couple streets over, the one I usually didn't go on, the one with the long hill down to Monte Vista Elementary School. I had learned to ride with no hands recently, so when I got going nice and fast, I sat up, I let go, I put my arms out to my sides, and I felt the air rush across my body. It was glorious. I coasted to the intersection halfway down the hill, the one with the 4-way stop sign. Nobody was there, because nobody was ever there. I started pedaling again, but I had sped up too much, and immediately my head and shoulder were sliding along the pavement for long enough that I remember thinking, wow, how long is this going to last? But I came to a stop, and the only thing I could get myself to do was scream. I screamed for what felt like forever. I had come to rest exactly in the center of that 4-way stop, like I was posed for a top-down drone shot in a Wes Anderson movie. And when I stopped, I did not move. I only screamed. Eventually, after what felt like literal forever to my bloody 10-year-old head, someone came out of one of those houses and brought me inside. I called home from the phone on the wall in their kitchen. It was the one and only emergency protocol we had back then. Memorize your home phone number. Of course, my sister answered. Dad was at work. Somehow, she eventually understood me through my intensely ugly crying, and I do not remember how, but I made it home. Rebuilding the suspension on this bike went very slightly better than that. Oh my God, what have they done? Ah! What is inside of this thing? How are you supposed to get this off? This is insane. What is this? I think I give up on it today. It's about midnight, and I don't know what to do next. This thing won't compress. It's supposed to compress inside the body so you can remove a little clip and take it apart, but it just springs back. I've done it twice now, and it just springs back every time, so I'll probably call Racetech in the morning and see if they can give me a clue as to what's happening. This is a weird shock. Somebody did a number on this thing. Well, I just talked to Jeff at Racetech, and he says that he thinks the bladder inside of that shock is broken and nitrogen has gone over to the other side and is pressurizing that thing. So I have a very big project on my hands, or I think more likely I hand it off to somebody who knows better than I do. So that's that. Good morning. Now I think I figured it out. I was sure I was going to take it in, but now I'm going to give it another try very carefully. You should be able to just compress this thing by hand, and then once you've compressed it, it'll stay there and you can get the clip out. But I was not so lucky. It wanted to spring right back every time I got it compressed. Well, it's snowing. So I ended up with this abomination of woodworking clamps, a homemade tool, and screwdrivers until my friend Bobby showed up and convinced me I needed to go to the store. All right. I went out to the store and I got a really cheap little pack of picks. And I think it's my best shot. So let's try again. And it was kind of comical how immediately and embarrassingly obvious it was that Bobby was correct. A $2 set of picks. They were so cheap I bought 2 sets. I got it above for once. You can see it. Watch. Look, there it is. That is the first time it's ever been up. That is very exciting. All right. Oh, here it goes. Ha ha! That little guy right there. Now let's see what happens when I let the pressure off of it. Hey! Survived. And then finally there was a piece of the job that was easy and straightforward. Finally. I was starting to wonder if there was any oil. And then there's this thing. What do you guys think? Is that what that's supposed to look like? Believe it or not, yanking on it is actually the approved method for getting this thing out, but I yanked and yanked, and there would be no easy way for me. Eventually I took to beating on it, couldn't make anything come out that way either. So, new brilliant plan, I hope. In this table there are little holes, like this one and this one and this one. I'm gonna put that in that hole. There's a screwdriver in this hole. And then I can come over here and I can open it up. And I can hope that that does not destroy the whole thing. I'll go slow. I do not understand how this is still... Oh my God, I did it. Hallelujah. Now we get to find out what the spacer is made out of in there. What do you think? Stack of quarters? Piece of PVC? It'll be a mystery. That's got to be the spacer. Oh, that's nice. Wow. So this thing was so intensely screwed up. This right here is just completely not part of anything anymore. It was just going to slip off completely. That's crazy. And then here's our spacers, made out of something that looks like, I think at least it was purchased for this purpose. They're solid, so they weren't going to break at least. So, forks. Hopefully they don't need a complete rebuild because I was too cheap to order the parts to begin with, which I should have. This is the second one I've done. I already did the first fork leg just to wrap my head around it, and it needed a lot of wrapping around it. I watched a couple YouTube videos, read all the directions from the company, and I got it done. But it took me a long time to feel like I had it figured out. So this one I'm hoping should go a lot easier. And it really did go a lot easier. I even kind of felt like I knew what I was doing at this point. I had been following a couple YouTube videos and I thought the instructions from the company really closely. But the video that I thought was the most helpful through the whole thing, that was taking me step by step through the process, was one where they made the same exact mistake that I did. Basically, I forgot to put half the washers in the stack of washers. The directions from the company are a little confusing, and I didn't realize that I was leaving a bunch of washers out, and the video I was watching didn't realize the exact same thing. And so this side of the forks was a lot easier to do the job on. The first leg took me a day and a half, and this time it took me an hour and a half, but this is not going to be the last time that I put it back together. Wow, first try. 25 foot-pounds. I'm not usually so excited to just torque one nut down. The thing about that nut, at least on the other side of the fork, was that it spun and I had to reassemble the whole fork with the spring and then compress the spring to get enough friction on it to be able to torque that nut down. That sound. Next up is to fill the thing with oil at least most of the way, and then you cycle the rod on the inside a bunch of times up and down. You might as well do the tube too, but you don't want to pull that tube up too fast or it'll squirt oil all over your ceiling and all over you. But the process is actually pretty fun and it makes some really neat noises. Make sure you've got the oil at the right level, and then you just throw everything back inside, including the shim that you cut to length. Tighten it down, and that's it. Just needs to be cleaned up now. Put the fork gaiters on and put it back on the bike. Jesus Christ. It's like putting together 4 pieces of Jell-O. God, what a pain in the ass. How are you supposed to do this better? If I already told you that this is not the final assembly, does it deserve a glamour shot? I don't know. Here's one anyway. Ooh, and here's a really pretty New Mexico sunset. This very obviously sucks. Not only is the rack not level to the headlight surround, the headlight is not level to the headlight surround. I also don't like the angle that this rack sits at, I want it to be up here. It all needs some figuring out. So let's work on some stuff that's physically close to that, but has actually nothing to do with that. Just like when the only tool you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. If you live in a wood shop, everything looks like wood. So let's do some wood carving. Ooh, it was nice to get into something else at this point. After being stuck in the middle of that suspension for so long, it was really nice to start making something with my own hands instead of just trying to repair or replace or change some mechanical bits on the bike. I definitely found out in doing this project that I like making stuff better than I like fixing stuff. Although I do like to save old stuff, making something brand new with my hands is really satisfying. So I grabbed what was left of the old highway sign and got to cutting and bending and drilling and shaping and sanding and painting. And it was very satisfying. I even did some wiring. I was inspired to do this dash by my friend Jim, who is, I think, the only person I've ever met in real life through this channel, and I'm glad I did it, just to make a little dash panel to put all the little electrical controls that I need. If you listen to people talk on the internet, on podcasts and such things about traveling on motorcycles, they all seem to say the one thing you need is heated grips. And I can't argue with that, so I ripped off my old grips, which somehow I think might have been the stock grips on the bike. If it looks like I should have cleaned this up and maybe scratched the surface with some sandpaper, you are correct. I had to redo this job eventually. But the second time I did it, I cleaned it up better and I ran some sandpaper over it, and it seems to be holding up all right. Not even close to enough. Here we go, just super glue the thing on, they say. What could go wrong? In the moment of doing it there, I was definitely not a believer. There we go. And then, once again, I'm in a wood shop, so everything looks like wood to me, so I broke out the woodworking tools and cut aluminum. Luckily, you can definitely cut aluminum with woodworking tools, at least most of them. I did ruin a spade bit trying to make these holes in the first place, but I was pretty sure that that was going to be the case. I just wanted to see what would happen. It was very exciting when I got the holes filed nice and tightly into those big circles and stuck those chargers in. Got to squish down a riv nut and then get everything painted up with some nice textured, I think I used truck bed liner to paint these brackets just because it was what I had lying around, but I liked how they turned out. Not the most important pieces on the bike, but it's amazing how painting something black makes it disappear when it's underneath a little dash. And if you've been watching a long time, you know how I like painting things black. At that point, there wasn't much left to do but screw everything in, plug everything in, and put everything back on the bike. It was a satisfying little project and a very welcome break from working on the suspension. I actually like how it looks tilted forward like that better than I did the original. The original is weirdly slanted back. The rack is still horribly crooked though. It's terrible. Here we are back with the black plastic. The parts finally got here. So, out it comes. Back again. Hopefully I can remember what I was doing with it and put it back together. When I did the fork, the first tube took me a day and a half, and the second one took me an hour and a half. So, hopefully now that I've wrapped my mind around it and done that, done the fork, I'll have a better idea what's happening here, and I can just crank it out. We can dream, right? Damn. There it goes. Come on. There it goes. Hey! So it is really annoying that the whole thing was messed up when I took it apart, but that guy is going to be much better as a shock, I hope. At least it'll be working, not like the other one. We hope. One part of the instructions for putting in the gold valve is that you have to drill a 1mm hole in the valve itself. There's little reliefs in the valve that tell you where to drill them, but I was really preoccupied with finding a 1mm drill bit. I didn't think I was going to do it. And so I think I completely forgot what it said in the directions like an idiot, because I had that running around in my brain, even though I went to the hardware store and found a 1mm drill bit in the metalworking section right away. It was no problem. Anyway, there's 3 of those little reliefs in the gold valve. There's one there, there's one there, and there's one there. And I only needed to drill one of them. I just realized that I screwed up the shim stack completely inside of the forks, so I'm going to have to take the forks completely apart. I also drilled 3 times as many holes as I'm supposed to. In the emulator, in the shock. I don't know how big a deal is with that. I'm waiting for a call back from Racetech. And I'm pissed. Oh my god. Oh, this has been like the worst. Okay. This has been the worst job. And now I have to take the forks completely apart and do them again. God damn it. Alright, well, I just did some sketchy repairs on the emulator, basically to pinch the holes I had already drilled smaller. And hopefully that will just get the overall volume of fluid going through those holes back to normal. I called customer service and they told me that worst comes to worst, it'll just be turned all the way in on the adjuster to get rid of the low speed compression. So I'm gonna go with it. They offered me a discounted price on a new valve. They've been really good through this whole thing. But that's what I'm going to do. I'm done spending money. I can't spend any more money. There it is. I finally got it correctly. I'm confident that it's right. I know I didn't film much, but I was so frustrated. It's not a how-to anyway. But there it is. Time to torque it down and put it back in the shock. I would love to say that it felt great to be putting this thing back together, but annoyingly, I couldn't really be as excited as I normally would. But sinking everything back into these clean little pots of clear shock oil definitely felt good on some level. And it went back together in incredible contrast to how it came apart. So that part was at least satisfying. All you got to do when you get to the end is add a little bit of air from a bike pump to get everything to seat back where it should be. Then you let that air out and you take it to a shop to get them to fill it with nitrogen. Boom! That is in. Oh my God. Did I do it? I think I did it. It's a new day. I did finish putting the shock back together, which is exciting, but now I have to deal with doing the forks again. I'm going to be pretty good at taking apart and putting back together the forks by then. I'm not looking forward to it. I've been dreading it and just sitting here not doing it. So it's clearly time to do it. So here we go again. Look, here's the thing. This project is hard. If you have no idea what you're doing, but you have done mechanical things before, it's totally doable. Pay really close attention to the instructions from the company and pay a little less attention than I did to the videos you find online. Read the comments. If you find the video that I used for this, I think there's a pretty significant mistake in it and I left a comment about it. So check the comments to see if there's anything wrong with the video because it might have saved me this whole thing. If you're not comfortable working on your bike, I don't know if you should do this job. If you really want to and you're the kind of person that will take your time and make sure that you're doing everything all right, then go for it, of course. I think always go for it because it's all just parts and parts can be replaced. If you screw something up, the worst thing that can happen is you have to buy a new set of parts, but there's a big warning at the top of the sheet that says, if you don't know what you're doing, don't do this. And if it scares you off, then it should scare you off. I cannot wait to go for a ride. I haven't even seen if I fixed the oil burning issue yet. The bike has been up on this wooden box for like 2 weeks at least, I think. On Monday, I can get the shock filled with nitrogen, put it back on, and I will have a motorcycle again, I think. It's filled with nitrogen. All I have to do is put the spring on it and put it back on the bike, put the bike back together, and I will once again have a motorcycle. It feels really good to be at this point. It's going to feel amazing to have a motorcycle again. I've even slept so much better the last few days. It's been incredible. So, it's time to put it back together and go for a ride. It's even sunny outside, I think. I'm getting there. The shock is in and torqued. The airbox is in. The wiring is buttoned up. I just need to put the wheel on, I think. Gas tank. It's so close. Gas tank. Gas tank! It's a motorcycle. It is a motorcycle. It's alive. It has power. We'll see if it starts. We'll see if it smokes. We'll see if it goes any different. I sure hope it does. It's definitely taller because it's leaning so much further on the kickstand than it used to. It has damping. Oh, I wish I had showed you the before. The back used to be fully on a spring for sure. I am going to adjust the chain and go for a ride. It feels different already for sure. So exciting. It's not great. This is the spare CDI. It's confused. That was with the choke when it wouldn't run. I took the choke off. It's a motorcycle! It's a motorcycle! Ah, it is so nice to have it not right here. Get rid of this blue tarp, have my room back, ride that motorcycle. This is very exciting. I didn't see if it smoked. Did you see if it smoked? Yeah, there it goes. Definitely running differently. I'm gonna go for a ride anyway. It works. It's different. Everything feels different. The suspension is definitely better. That's good. What if everything had just been exactly the same? And if you watched that last video, you know that we never got to find out if my bike stopped smoking after I changed the valve stem seals, so I left it out overnight because it usually smokes the worst after it's been out all night in the cold. I do not expect that it's going to start easily because I don't think the choke is adjusted right. I had to put a new choke in after I broke it, taking everything apart, and I think it's going to be hard to start, but we're going to want to watch right here to see if there's a big plume of smoke. Hopefully it starts. No problem. Zero smoke. Hot damn. And I have to say that if you want to see me actually travel on this bike that I put back together, hit the subscribe button so that you can follow along and see me go all the way through Latin America down to Tierra del Fuego on this 22-year-old bike at this point. I'd love to have you along.